Right, so this part is looking good. So maybe let's call this base or something. Now let's do the side thing here. Let's put a null. Put this thing in there. And what we want to do is we want to have something to copy our, I'm not sure what they call like the side stuff to. So if we kind of look at our thing here, let's look at this view. We kind of need to move this thing to the sides, and then we can copy stuff to it. So if you remember, that's also what we did with the chair at some point. So we want to transform this thing. We're going to use one of those expressions again that we used. So we need to transform it in the x-axis. We're going to type bbox. We're going to check for the bounding box of this object. So remember, this is the if you're going to look at this thing here again. So at the base. So we're going to look at the bounding box. Let me see, can I put this to so this is going to be the bounding box. So we're going to look at the side of this bounding box. So that's what we're going to look for. So I'm going to use the bbox. We're going to point it to, let's type base. We're going to which direction do we want to do it? So we want to do it in the x direction. There, x, right? D, x, and then let's put max and press enter. You can see now it put it to the maximum of this bounding box. Now let's copy it and get the other one, and then put this one to x min. And an error. Oh, I didn't type min correctly. X min. All right, now you can see it put it to the other side. Let's merge those together. And then we have this. All right. So we need to create a normal attribute for the thing copies that we're going to make to point upwards. So we create attribute create. We're just going to create our normal like this. Say it's a point and it's going to be a vector, and we're going to point it upwards. So y value is going to be y on the up axis. So it's going to be normal, as you can see in the geometry spreadsheet. So anything we copy to this now will be copied in that direction. Right, so let's copy some stuff to it. Copy to points. Copy a box. Beautiful box. Let's see which direction. So we want to move it upwards in that direction. So we want to maybe for the size copy parameter the size .c, paste relative reference in the center, and then divide that by 2. So if we do that, you can see if we make it higher, it will just stick to that thing. And maybe we want it to be a little smaller. So maybe 0.2, maybe 0.35 or something. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Right, so maybe we want some control over how many. So we could put a resample probably before this whole thing. So let's put a resample here. So you can see now we suddenly get a whole bunch. So let's turn off maximum segments and then just put segments here. So now we get some controls here on like how many of these things do we want. And again, this will still all propagate because we have, why is this not working? Oh, okay, yeah. So this will all propagate because it's all coming from this spline, and we have a completely procedural setup. Okay, so let me have a look over here on the right what I did. I think what I'm doing there 1 second. Yeah, so what I'm doing here is I'm removing the first and the last copies. Because if we're not doing that, let's merge this whole thing together. So with the base, merge it together. Look in our first thing. Maybe that's what you want. Actually, it looks pretty okay that they are over there, but maybe we could either leave it like that, or we could do it the way I did it here. So that just removing the thing. And maybe we could like add a switch to switch between that. Right. So let's just do this. So let's see. What do we want to do? We want to. Maybe we could don't even need to do for each. Maybe it would make more sense to just do it inside of like, before this whole thing. So let's do a maybe a delete. Say I guess delete by expression, and say delete. Or we don't even need to delete by expression. Let's just do by pattern. Just type 0.0. So we want to delete 0.0, and we also want to delete expression. So maybe add ptnum equals add num_p3 minus 1. Does that work? Let's see. Okay, let's just do it differently. Let's do it the way that I did it over here. Let's just sort and do point sort and reverse our point sort, and then put another delete. So then you can see, so over here it deletes this point, and then I'm sorting it. So what I will do is, if you look at the point numbers here, so this is now 0.0. I'm sorting it. Now 0.0 is over here. I'm blasting it. And now can go down here. Now the first point will be deleted. And maybe sometimes you want to do this, sometimes you don't. So maybe you could put down a switch. And like put a switch. And then say that, no, we're not going to put it there. Okay, we're going to go over here. So a switch will allow you to switch between different inputs. So let's put this in here. So let's put in the first input the resample that we had. So this is just going to be this curve. In the second input, let's do the operation that has, well, that deletes these points. So let's go down here. Let's turn off these point numbers. Now we have a switch here, which will allow us to switch whether they're on or off. So we have some more control. So it's a little bit different than I did over here. But again, you can do, there's one allows them one way is that you make stuff inside of Houdini, basically. Let's just add a sweep. So we don't really need to do this in Houdini version. So this was created back in 1975. If you did the sweep by default, it wouldn't, I think it would like connect the whole thing. So you need to do it inside of for each. But now I can just use a sweep and I don't have to do it inside of a for each. It will just properly sweep for every curve. So in the old version, it would like sweep like this and then continue over there. So it would like create extra geometry in the middle. So we don't need to do that whole thing. Let's just put a sweep over there. And let's put down a circle. Put it to polygon. Let's put it in the sweep. Let's put the sweep to second input. That's correct. We still need a new attribute for an up vector, like we had with the seaweed, called up. Put it to vector, and maybe put it to, let's see, something like this. Let's create a normal as well. I think we already had a normal, but can do it anyway. Do it anyway. Vector up. All right. Okay, so that's looking good. Was this normal here set to... Oh, it's set to vector as well. Okay, it's weird that it's not working. Anyway, so we have these tubes here that enable compute UVs and do UV quick shades. I'm going to compute some UVs. So that's looking good. Now we need to enable the caps. So let's just put it to single polygon. So for some reason it doesn't generate a UV on this by default. I think even if I do a texture on here, do a projection, it doesn't work. So let me just have a look. So why is it still showing this box? 1 second. Untemplate this. So it needs to project in the Z direction. Right, so that. For some reason it doesn't keep the original. No idea why it's not doing that. I did this before and then it did work, but we can just do a so we can just do it another way. We can just go to surface here and just put down an out group for our end caps. So those will be the end caps and it will be put in a group. So if you turn that on, you will, if you middle mouse, you should see you see a primitive group for end caps. And then what we could just do is we could just do I guess a UV texture, just put it like that, put it on end caps, put it on, so a UV unwrap, and put that to end caps, yep, like that, and then do UV quick shade, and then we have UVs. By the way, you could also alternatively put this to, I think if you put this to grid, you get sort of a bulgy thing, which I don't really like, but I guess you could change the cap and the roundness, and let's just put it to single polygon. Right, so now we have a we have a cap on this thing. So we could change the size of this. We could make it a rectangular one. So let's see which direction we need to rotate it. If we rotate it, we could rotate it 45 degrees. Then we're left with something like this. All right, let's just merge it into what we already have. Let's maybe turn off the UV quick shade. So we need to probably add some normals. I need to reverse it, probably. Let's delete this. Let's put reverse. Oh, and by the way, you sometimes have this bug where stuff just remains in the viewport. Reverse. Perfect. Right, so we're almost done with our bridge. So what we still need to do probably is we need to take this thing that we have here. We probably want to move this up a little bit so it will be on top of this thing. So remember, we can do that with a transform and then with a b-box expression, like b-box. And maybe let's see, what do we need to point to? Let's put a null. Call it things, because I have no idea what they're called. Right. Let's call it to b-box, point it to things, and then direction y max. Okay, let's see what it does. All right, so that's not really looking like we want it to. So what happens if we do no? So let's investigate. So I think instead of doing it with the b-box, instead we want to do is maybe we have this height of copy. Probably want to use the height of that thing. So this is using the height. So I guess we could copy parameter of the 2. So that's the box that's being copied to this thing. We could go to transform and then paste relative references in the height. Let's see if that makes it better. Yep, that's doing the trick. All right. So yeah, this is probably why you would want to get rid of the overhang thing and edit the switch for. Something like that. But we probably... So now it's also removing these things for the top thing. So probably that's not what we want to do. So let's have a look at how can we solve this. Right. So let's have a look. So we have this thing here. We have this thing here. Okay, let's just maybe copy these. So copy this whole stuff. Let's copy and paste. Let's put this switch to... So okay, let's put these to the thing without the switch, so they will never use the switch. And then plug this into the merge. Let's have a look. Right, so now we have this nice overhang. So what it's doing is this one will use the blasted one and the other one won't. So the switch still works. All right, so basic bridge looking pretty okay. We don't have UVs for everything yet, I think. If we look at UV quick shade. Yeah, so these things don't have UV yet. Oh, wait, this one did. Okay, so this one does have UVs. Let me check UV quick shade. So these have UVs, but they're it's acting a little bit weird. Okay, so I'm just gonna put on the override existing UVs. So now it's looking fine. So the only thing that doesn't have UVs yet are... Let's give those some UVs. Let's just, I guess, add a... Maybe we could just add a... just copy the UV layout that we had there and just copy it under this box. Because it's a box, I mean, it has the same amount of things. Right, so now that has UVs. So probably what I want to do is I want to insert these. So these things. So think about a little bit how that would work. So let's see. Probably what we want to do is we want to just transform this thing inwards, which is probably the easiest. Let's just put this to 0.95. Let's make a reference copy of that one and let's put it also over here. Right, so now that's inset. So maybe something else we want to do is we want to change the UV for this thing because the scale is not really correct. So UV transform. So yes, UV transform will transform the UV. So I guess if we scale it down, so now the scale will be better. Maybe we also want to add some bevels to these things. So let's do a bevel. So in this case, we probably want to group. Remember, we could edges. So group. And put it to edges. Edge group. Put it to include edges. And again, use the angle. So not that one, use this, the minimum angle. So 45 or something. Right, so we could use that then in the bevel. So again, these are all techniques that we have discussed before. Now we're just using them on the bridge instead of something else. So edge group. All right. Probably also want to do some bevel on the box thing. We don't really need to do the edge group there. We could just add it here. All right. Now it looks like we have a perfectly capable bridge, which is procedural. So we have controls here over the shape. So now all that actually sort of remains maybe is to, so you can see controls here over the shape there. We have controls over this thing. Just maybe what we want to do is we want to add some controls like we did with the chair on the upper level. So let's do that.